I think that in the time that we are all operating in, the issue that we are all trying to collectively address today directly focus on those amongst us that I think are most valuable, our children. I'd like to introduce today the panelists that we have, are very esteemed panelists. And like I said, I'm honored to be talking with the four of them this morning. Dr. Tushar Deoras, he is the founder and head of the Astute Academy, and he has been a beacon of light for thousands of students in the area of career counseling. Every year, for 25 years, the Astute Academy and Dr. Deoras have shown the way forward to thousands of students, and they have an international presence with offices in the United States as well as Germany and so many other countries across the world. Welcome aboard, Dr. Deoras. Thank you. Our second panelist for the day today is Mrs. Jasmita Kaur. Mrs. Jasmita Kaur is the Dean of Placements of the D.Y. Patil Group in Akurdi. She has had a firm hold, I think, on what the market is asking for in terms of skills that are employable, and she has dedicated her life towards encouraging and mentoring thousands upon thousands of students under the D.Y. Patil umbrella to learn those skills and grow holistically. And she is a force to reckon with in terms of being a mentor and an expert in college education. And it's truly an honor to have you with us, Mrs. Kaur.
Thank you, Ms. Vidya Moorthy. Thank you so much.
Yes, I would also like to add that she's the chairman of the Federation of Training and Placement Officers in Pune, and who better to contribute to that field apart from your. So thank you, and thank you for joining us. Moving on, we have Mrs. Lakshmi Kumar. She is known by many, and many, I don't know if she needs an introduction, but I'm going to try my own humble way here. She is the director of the Orchid School. She again has worked for several decades here, mentored thousands upon thousands of students within the Orchid School umbrella and beyond. By passion, she started off being, in her early career, a mental health expert and a social worker. And I think she felt very strongly about taking collective responsibility for the youngest amongst us. It was that drove her to become the director of the Orchid School. And not only is she an educator, she has a very sophisticated understanding of multicultural education as well. Obviously an expert in the CBC curriculum apart from others. And we are delighted to have her join us this morning. I'm moving on to our fourth panelist, Mrs. Preeti Prabhu. Mrs. Preeti Prabhu is the principal of the Indus School, Pune. I don't know if I can encapsulate all her accomplishments in a few seconds. She's a gold medalist and holds a postgraduate degree from England. She is a stunning force when it comes to the IB system. She believes in holistic education. She has a very forward-thinking view of education where she encourages students to become self-learners and believes in exploratory learning. She has also been seen as a leader who is basically a warm demander. So yes, she functions with very high levels of empathy, but also holds her team to very high standards. So welcome on board, Mrs. Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so I think that the four of you together, a CBSE expert, an IB expert, somebody from the college domain, and somebody from career counseling, enrich today's discussion in multiple ways. And I'm going to, first put my first question to Dr. Tushar Deoras. And I know that your work has been admired in career counseling, and it's covered several decades. With all of this going on, and with 11th grade and 12th grade and degree first year, second year students in such a state of chaos, and with all the anxiety going on, we would love to know if what light you can throw on what we should all expect in the next 2-3 years. Could you please throw some light on that?
Yeah, thank you very much
for really giving me opportunity, and I'm really honored to be with a night panel also. Yeah, this is really, we are going to set a new normal, because this is a difficult time globally. This is a difficult time which is going to set and change the education industry in a big way. The coronavirus which we are affecting today, it is not going to vanish in 1 month's time, 2 months time, or 3 months time. It is going to stay for a longer duration of time. And when we talk of the long term perspective, it is we need to change the way we address the education sector. And this also, I always tell, whenever any problem comes, it is a big opportunity also for us. And it is really, the education system is going through a really a phase. It has come suddenly, unprepared, but still the education industry and all responding in a different way. I, being a career counselor, I can see a drastic change the way the thinking. Means one good thing about the even lockdown is there today, parents are sitting with their child and discussing the career, because otherwise the father is so busy, he's touring 15 days a month. He's a very, very high post in the industry. He never spared that much time with his children to really understand and discuss about the career part of it. We are taking so much of sessions, career counseling online sessions, okay, where the both parents and the child, they can talk to us. We could hardly find earlier days. Either mother used to come when he says, I will discuss with my father, they used to discuss. And this is really opened a good, really communication between the things. And for, as a career counselor, this is the best really gift to the students. I can see is a positively. It is a gift to the students. Now it is a more engagement. Parents are spending that time. As regards the institutions and other things are there, they have to drastically change, because social distancing is going to become a norm. Small classroom is going to become a norm. Technology enhancement is going to become a norm. So there are a lot of changes which is worldwide changing. We never thought of the teaching online earlier. It is a classroom scenario. But now the teachers are learning how to teach the online thing. It is a new normal is going to set a worldwide. It is not going to, it will no longer be 200, 100, 200 students sitting in a class, in a cramped classrooms. Now we will see the transformation the government will take. And once the students and the parents and the teachers see the value out of it, like even many of the IB schools and all, they already have the student to teachers ratio is been a lower, but government schools, even a rural penetration. I go to a lot of rural areas and I can see there is a problem, more of the problem. And these are the things which are going to set up a new paradigm shift. It is going to be the teachers has to really take a big challenge out of that. Innovation has to be done. There will be a lot of technology platforms which will be coming forward. And I see it is a knowledge-based economy where the knowledge will be shared. Today, if I'm going to a school, maybe I'm exposed to only the selective teachers which are there. But some teacher which is sitting in USA, some teacher sitting in Germany or any of the nook and corner of India, and a great teacher. Now this is a time that the whole education industry will have provide the student access to those best teachers also. Huge contents will be developed now. The educational contents development. Previously, it was only e-learning and some of the commercialization, but now the real content, because the real thing is the teachers which are sitting in the institution. So content development. So large number of content, large access to of the online resources. The students will become a smarter. So Corona has really, I see it is a boom actually. It is a boon to the students and the parents and even education students. Otherwise, we would have dragged it traditionally. And India always, unless you jerk it something, we don't learn from them. So internationally, there are best practices, but we say, no, India is different. India, we have the different, our student, but now it is thinking, even at home, the children are working, they are washing clothes, they are washing utensils. In a normal scenario, they would never have done. In USA, everybody washes their utensils. It is not a big thing to wash utensils, but now this is a new thing, which is the students are learning to be self-dependent also. They how to do their work themselves. It is being encouraged. So many things which is going to change, and this will have the long-term implication. I see really it is a positive movement. Maybe economic front and all this front it will take some time. But as an education system, because child education is an emotional issue for parents,
Thank
and
you.
nobody will like to compromise on the education. Other things can be compromised, but child's education we cannot compromise. We may delay the education, but I think long term we will evolve stronger, and it will be better for the education industry, student and teachers, all three.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Deoras. I think it takes a visionary leader like you to see so much positivity in all of this chaos. And, we'll remember everything that you said in terms of how things are not going to change in the short term and how people should saddle up for the long run. Mrs. Jasmita Kaur, please, continuing from what Dr. Deoras said here. So given the picture that he's portrayed, and as a veteran in career counseling and placement, what advice do you have for young adults today?
Well, I would, in order to utilize your time, constructively during this lockdown period, a very difficult situation, a unique kind of experience that we all are going through. My advice to all the youth of the country is to invest in themselves, invest in self. This is the best investment that we can do in this tough time. Knowledge is a wealth that you must focus on. So youth of today must learn to acquire interdisciplinary skills to sustain in this competitive and challenging world. We all have heard about words like IoT, AI, ML, 3D printing. Now these are the buzzwords in today's technological world. So I request my youth to use e-learning platforms which are available to them on just on a single click. Use these e-learning platforms to upgrade and update your knowledge. This is a generation Z, a generation wherein they are they are very, very fragile. They are very, very handy with gadgets like computers and iPads, where the function of control C and control V, I repeat, cut and paste, it works fabulously in these gadgets. But they have to understand that this function, this strategy will not work in the real world. So work on your fundamentals. Your fundamentals will decide whether you have a stable career and you will survive in this competitive industrial world. Therefore, I would appeal to the youth who are there currently at their homes during this lockdown period, that try and identify certain weak areas, some weak subjects that you are not good at. Go to any e-learning platform. You have NPTEL, National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, running by IIT and IISc. There are plenty of MOOC, massive open online courses on Coursera and Udemy. Identify your weak subject area, hunt for an e-learning capsule which is readily available on internet, and because this simple formula will help them to sustain an industry. Now, what does an industry look for? For a talent whom they would like to hire. They look for a talent who have understood the basic algorithm of a particular concept. Now, when I say a basic algorithm, you must be able to reach your final destination in stepwise process, and not rush towards the final result. So coming back to my point, students whose fundamentals are crystal clear, I again repeat, students whose fundamentals are crystal clear are the ones who are going to excel in every domain in their life. So utilize your time in brushing up your fundamentals. Utilize your time in understanding whatever has been taught to you in your school, in your colleges, not to mug up a particular concept. And also going off the track, I would like my students to explore the entrepreneur in you, rather than searching for a job. Government of India has come up with plenty of schemes nowadays to help and support the budding entrepreneurs. So there are plenty of things that youth can actually do during this lockdown period. Over to you, Vidya. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kaur. I think that's very, very sage advice. It's time, I think, for all our youngsters in lockdown to become more self-aware, focus on weak areas, identify them, continue to work on them. You've listed some very valuable online resources, and you've encouraged entrepreneurship as well. And I think that transitions beautifully into my next question for Mrs. Kumar. And while we talk to these youngsters and these young professionals, and even going back a little earlier to 11th graders, um, we would love to know from your perspective what advice you have for the anxious grade 12 student who doesn't know what the future holds. So, what advice would you have for them, Mrs. Kumar?
I think to begin with, you have three primary stakeholders who are very interconnected. The educational system, that's the educators, you have parents, and you have students. Uh, I think we really need to be a little more practical on what is that I can control, what is that I cannot. So this whole, what I would say a SWOT analysis of the situation for me is a very important first step. Uh, and taking a point from Dr. Deoras and also from Madam Kaur, is in this SWOT analysis, look at what are the gaps that you really would be able to address and that you need to fill up. I've been working with higher education. I've been also working with technology and management education. And I often used to say this whole employability readiness is going to be pushed down to the school, higher secondary, and probably 9th and 10th grade, because 4 years of technical education is not enough to fill in this gap, because we are rushing through its own curriculum adjustments, and also placement mission. And in all this is, that there's a huge gap. So I keep saying this, that we need to start looking at skill-based, and I'm not talking about career in terms of technology, management, biotechnology, but in terms of building skills that are going to come in handy for my employability in whatever career choices that I make. So I think we need to start with grade 9, looking at building those skills, either through modular courses, and if schools are offering, today, unfortunately, a lot of students take a back seat because they think it's going to impact their grades in or outcome and scores in grade 10 or grade 12. For heaven's sake, the world is going to look at your resume, the context of a vast, smorgasbord of resume, and not anymore just look at that single score. So I think we need to really look at how do I build my resume? It could be a million opportunities that school offers or that the community offers, or that you have really a whole set of options like e-learning that she talked about, or courses that she talked about, or simply probably right now or post lockdown. It's not like May 3rd and we are all going to be liberated. A lot of things are still going to be residued. So what are my opportunities that I can actually build my resume? And I think grade 12 students, especially who are, especially I see that in CBSE grade 10 also, exams are not over. Will there be papers still completed? Do we have, how is the results going to be? And what about my JEE, or what about my CET exams? I think we would be spending far too much energy on worrying about things that I don't have control. Let me focus on what I have control over. If I need to focus on the digital learning, acquisition of the newer skills, newer platforms to host, there's 1 million opportunities. And I think we need to bring back to what's that I can do, what's that I can become better version of myself, and how do I build my resume? I think that's the focus that I would like to recommend to my students.
Thank you, Mrs. Kumar. I think what you said about being able to understand exactly what encompasses, your circle of control, your circle of influence, and trying to make realistic decisions that are tailored and continuing to grow multidimensionally. Uh, and that's exactly what I had in mind for Mrs. Prabhu to throw some light on, because I know that she's pioneered holistic education, especially within the IB framework. So, are we all over dreaming here? Are we shooting too high? Is a holistic education even possible under this circumstance? We would love for you to tell us.
I think holistic education in today's times, in fact, is as important, if not more important, than the pedagogical aspects of education. The world is VUCA in nature. It's very volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, ambiguous, and with COVID-19, I think it's a VUCA plus environment of sorts. So it's very important, I think, to look at building empathy amongst our kids. Very important to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. Yes, we are in our 6th week of online classes. I think the transition has been smooth for most institutions. The cognitive quotient is being taken care of, but I also believe in something that we practice at Indus is education of the heart and the mind as well. So the spiritual quotient, the emotional quotient is very much important and absolutely possible to be delivered through the online platform. Wellness sessions, for example, mindfulness sessions, for example, delivering the curriculum through the design thinking process, which again promotes innovation skills like critical thinking, creativity, compassion, community service beyond awareness projects, right? Kids have an opportunity to build empathy through pursuing different community service projects. Very important also would be in terms of, say, mindfulness, like I've already mentioned, goal setting, deep reading. We're doing sports online. We have to remember, we have to keep in mind that, you know, the social skills and the life skills of kids very, very critical right now. The happiness factor that kids possibly went through of schools being shut, that is kind of wearing off now. It can get to kids after a point being indoors, not being able to meet up with their friends except, say, through online platforms. So all the more important for us in the field of education to focus and to look at different ways in which we could actually look at building these social skills. Inter-house competitions can be done online, for example. Mindfulness is very important because the irritability and, like I spoke of, that can be taken care of. Sports. And community service, I think, is also something that we could look at towards the holistic education aspect. Thank you very much.
And I disagree with what you said. I think we are all, it is our common endeavor here to raise citizens, not get students through exams. And I know that as we all collectively strive towards that, we've encouraged entrepreneurship, self-learning, situational analysis, reflection from Mrs. Kumar, getting ready for the long run from Dr. Deoras. And my next question, I'd like to send the ball back to Dr. Deoras at this point, is what would you do if you were the head of a school today, if you were the head of a high school today for 11th and 12th graders? I think that would be very exciting to know.
Yeah, so really, I'm a career counselor, so I look from the outside, both the students and the institutions. I
can't hear you, Dr. Deoras.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hello.
you.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it is audible. Is it audible to everybody?
Hello.
Yes, yes.
You're audible.
Vidya?
You're absolutely audible. You're audible.
Yeah. Okay, maybe
Okay.
Moorthy has. So I was
Hello?
saying, I'm a career counselor, so I look.
I'm so sorry. I think it's my audio that is giving me some trouble here.
Okay, no problem. So, educational institutes, this question is very hypothetical, but I will give it to perspective. What it was asking, what are the 3 things, what if I have the head of the institution? The first and foremost, it is like Mrs. Prabhu also said, the engaging the students. We should really do a lot of innovation, the happiness and all other things. I being a career counselor, this is a very, very important time when particularly for 11th and 12th student, we can do a lot of sessions for the students about the career counseling. As in my starting statement also, I said today the parents and students are together. And when we talk about the career part of it, it is essential that we engage with the parents also. It is not only the students. We may do a lot of activities, but once the parents also sometimes does not have the perspective, they may think, I'm an engineer, so I want my son or daughter to become. What are the skills, ability that particular student has got? So we need to match when we choose the career, normally many times we choose the subject first, a course, I want to do engineering, we never look at the career part of it. That guidance is the first step with every institution. There are IS officers who are engineers and doctors also. So engineering is not a finality. So if that student has got a capability, analytical ability is there, he has got a different skills, he also has got a really management skill with him, he has a leadership quality, he's a team building quality, what type of careers we can choose? I've been in this field for 25 years. I cannot say I know everything in the world. There are more than 13,000 careers. And it is at this stage engaging the student, particularly 9th standard onward students, to identify what is good into that. And then we guide it rather than just pushing into a particular career. Second biggest thing is the technological enhancement. There is no choice, as I said. We cannot be doing the video conferencing calls or online tutoring using the free tools. Okay, so Zoom is a free tool. I'm using Zoom. Somebody is using different free tools. Now that can be temporary phenomena. Every school has to invest in terms of the very high bandwidth. They have to develop the infrastructure. They have to have the paid tools with you, which are customized for your requirement. For a maybe primary student or middle school students, maybe infrastructure requirements will be different. You may play games with them online. These platforms, what currently we are using, were ready platforms available to us. And we are just trying to push back onto that, and we are using these facilities. But that cannot be a long-term solution, because this every technology, you have to customize it. You need to invest it now. No longer a free thing, free Zoom or free Google is giving and all these things. You have to move out of that. You have to invest into the digital classroom. Many IB schools and CBSE schools have, but when I talk to all schools, it is the time has come where we have to record the teachers' lectures, which is coming. We have to provide them. So technology enhancement is the second biggest thing. And the third thing is the teachers' development. Teachers are not ready today. They are trying to do their best. Nobody really suddenly something has come. It is a teacher's training which has always been a problem in India. I always say, particularly in higher education sector, I see that the syllabus changes are happening slowly, even in higher education, because teacher doesn't know what is 5G. If you are to change the syllabus to 5G, and every engineering colleges are there in rural areas, the teacher doesn't know what is 5G. He never studied because we don't have the research. So as Mrs. Kumar also rightly said, it is from higher education to schools. Now we need to start building the career in the school level. I really appreciate that view. It is really, that is the way. And this is the thing. And teachers are the foundation. It is not the buildings, or it is not only the infrastructure. It is all complementing each other. And unless we get resources from the best of the teachers across globe. Now it is not a question of only the teachers available in your school also. If some resources are available internationally, let that resource be training your teachers. Let there be a specific programs for teachers training. What are the things happening worldwide? What are the best practices happening worldwide? Can we train the teacher and can we develop? And in higher education sector, I always say research outsourcing is going to be a boom. Now today's topic is different, but we need to, it's a time of globalization. So you engage the student, you have the career counseling session, particularly 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th student. You identify what is the right career with them, talk to their parents, do a lot of informative sessions so that they know what is the career direction. It is not engineering or medical is the only careers available to them. But we really do not know, we do not think, we do not have the vision. I want to become a chartered accountant because chartered accountancy is good career. But when I go to BCom, do I choose what are the top 10 BCom colleges in India? I never look at the top 10 BCom colleges in India. For engineering, I may go to BITS Pilani, which is in a small village in Rajasthan. I may go to the different engineering and medical college, but do we give the same weightage to the commerce students or art students, humanities students, psychology? If I want to do a psychology, it's a great career. Are we going to really knowing even student what are the top 10 colleges in India and internationally also? It is a perspective which the education institute has to give it. Every career is equally important. It is not engineering or medical. Every career, even sports you can have. So we have great things. So we develop the first level engagement with the student, and this is a great opportunity for us. Develop the infrastructure and the teachers training. If you can do the three most important part of it, I think, and we are doing a lot of work in all the three areas. So I'll be very, very happy to get connected on that front.
Thank you, Dr. Deoras. I think all of us will agree that you should start your own school. Because you seem to have such a good hold on what should be done. Mrs. Kaur, if we could come to you next. With respect to college education and the current crisis, what are the top three, most critical changes that you think have already happened or might happen within the next few weeks and months in college education?
Right. Well, I feel in the current situation, the constructive and the optimum utilization of ICT tools, for implementing the latest concept, which is now running in most of the colleges, is study from home. So this is actually happening. Our faculty members are taking classes on Zoom app and plenty of other applications which are there. Students are studying. So this is something which had earlier never happened. Though e-learning platforms were available, but listening to a lecture which is online, listening to a lecture which your own faculty is being conducting, this is something which is new and it has come up. So I would say virtual classroom reading, teaching virtually is actually which has come up in this lockdown period. Now Zoom app, I think most of us are using, and it is now one of the most widely used applications. And organizing a webinar by Bassett, education on a Zoom app is an apt example of what exactly ICT tools are. So I would say this is something which is the happening thing in the college education as of now. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think that you're right in terms of students having already upgraded themselves, curriculums being revised, new technologies. I think that we are all stunningly saying and agreeing on the same things. And I'd like to now ask Mrs. Kumar here for her thoughts on having surmounted, I think, so many challenges before, and with your worldview as well, because I know you do so much work with Sweden and so many other countries. Are the educational challenges that are faced the same in India as they are in other countries for this age range of students?
Let me answer two parts to it. Just looking at the school education scenario, I propose a 7C model, that will really pitch us both locally and globally competent. And that we need to be not myopic about it. For once, it has transcended all the borders, this COVID-19. It hasn't spared the north or the south. It hasn't spared the developed or the not so developed countries. So there is a universal context that we are talking about. The whole world has come to some kind of a paralysis. So we are not alone in this education. So this whole worry about losing a year or losing some months, the whole world is losing some months. The whole educational fraternity is losing some months. But like Dr. Deoras said, but we are gaining so many months of reflection and a pause, a very important stoic pause that we all need to come back to. So my first reflection is the first C is for educators, curriculum. For heaven's sake, let's adapt, accommodate student learning experiences. Right now, they're going through a whole bunch of learning that's beyond the textbooks. So if we can really expand our curriculum to include those realities, those universal realities, and I think we'll do a big services of bringing back the life skill to the center of a student learning approach. The second C for me is, is to be on this continuously. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not till August and September. It's not a very time bound. I think we are going to invest a whole lot for an entire generation of learners who are going to live beyond us, and that they may see, God forbid, another pandemic, another infectious disease, or another disaster, and they are better equipped both in terms of civic commitment and personal commitment to deal with. So I think let's bring in the sense of that this is not like I'm going to do a hand sanitizer until June, July, August, and it's going to be business as usual. The third most important C that I would like to propagate is the context. There is a larger picture, the worldly, global, geopolitical, health perspective. And how do I embed my educational context in this? Thankfully, education is a subsystem, or what we call the microcosm of the larger society. So I think we as stakeholders need to understand the context in which our education needs to go through these changes. The fourth one, as a head of institution, or all of us as educators, the fourth C is the communication, that we need to keep this going on. I need to communicate with my stakeholders why I'm bringing these changes, how do I visualize these changes, and what are some of the practices that I'm borrowing, and that how we all need to figure it out together, to get a feedback on, like just that, first time we are all doing online. Let's not assume that everybody's enjoying. Get a feedback from your teachers, get a feedback from your students and the parents, and then redesign, bring it back to the curriculum. So that's the fourth C. Oh, sorry, fourth, yeah. The connect. There is the sense of little bit of anxiety in teachers, especially, or the educational fraternity. Will we become redundant? Will we be obsolete? Never, because we are going to bring that human connect in this very, very ICT tooled world right now. We are still going to be able to bring that conversation to the table, so to say, through this human connect. So keep this connect on. Don't just do this punch lunch delivery of my lessons and I'm gone. There is a student before and a student after. So keep this connect on. And I think we all as educators, that's the most important sixth C, is that we need to embark on a campaign, an advocacy agenda for all of us as institutional heads, is to use data. For heaven's sake, we need to promote the science approach. We use data to mobilize policies, because our management is looking up to us as to what are we going to do, what changes we are bringing in. So I think let it be a data-driven and not a personal belief-based policies. And I think the most important and the last but not the least C is the commitment. There is a personal commitment that as leaders we need to bring, that we will not be coming in the way of changes because I am not comfortable with it. We all need to kick ourselves out of the comfort zone and commit to embrace what's waiting ahead. So that's my 7C mantra for you. Thank you.
Wow, quite beautifully put. Structured, comprehensive, simple and intense all at once, I think. It gives us a lot of food to think about. And before I move, on with my next question, I think I feel compelled almost to chime in here and say that we at Bassett Education India have pioneered the delivery of life skills, not just within the sphere of education, but across industry verticals and domains. So whether we work with incubation centers, whether we work with small and medium-sized companies, or with larger MNCs and manufacturing organizations, schools, colleges, the workforce pipeline, the campus to corporate transition, school students, teacher training, when we work with breaking barriers and building bridges between school owners, school leadership, and larger teams. This is our hot button. This is my thing, and I feel so strongly about life skills because any one of us who've led a team, even if you've handled and managed just your domestic stuff, we know that life skills is front and center. So I think very well put. And I'd like to change the focus here a little bit. And I do want to take advantage of the expert outlook that you have, Mrs. Prabhu, on international education here. what advice do you have for students who have in the 11th grade or in the 12th grade, they're taking their SATs, they're trying to get their college apps together, they might have to work on their statement of purpose. They have so many things going on, but things seem to be in chaos the world over with international immigration being shut down in the United States. What advice do you have for students who've always wanted to go abroad to study?
Okay. So I would look at this in two different phases. One, the short term, and then the long term. I think all of us, our hearts go out to the current grade 12 students who had finished their SATs, their IELTS, done their applications, offers had started rolling in, and they had more or less decided where to go. But then COVID-19 came into our lives. So right now, my advice to these children, who some people term very incorrectly, I must say, as lost children. They're not so lost. So I want to give them that assurance that they're definitely not lost. They just need to be a bit patient, the current grade 12s. Universities are going to open up, of course. When they're going to open up is a guess. I mean, everyone is guessing. I know for a fact that universities like the Uni of Manchester and Toronto have actually gone out and issued a statement that they will start off in September, but it might be through online remote learning. So children of the current grade 12, we've been having a lot of sessions, firstly to manage anxiety levels. The parents are as anxious as kids, if not more. So we've had separate sessions with them, and I think all educators across all schools have been doing that. So children have options of either starting off university through remote learning, or there's an option of taking a gap year, right? Defer your admission by a year. And during that time, there is a plethora of opportunities available. They can do these online courses to build their resume. I know there are open Yale and Harvard courses, Coursera courses, Skillshare. There are also options where we've identified some certain remote internships, virtual internships that kids could do through on web development, app development, digital marketing, content writing. So there is an opportunity there as well for kids to actually build their CVs some more. There might be parents who are a bit apprehensive about sending their kids abroad. So they might be looking at keeping their kids here for their undergrad. So Indian universities have been quite open in that regard. For instance, Flame University in Pune, Ashoka, for example. So those are things that I foresee that the current grade 12 set of parents and kids might be considering at the moment. In terms of the long term, generally kids of grade 9, 10, and 11, during the summer, they generally look at options of summer schools at universities abroad. But this time, they probably will have to look at a virtual summer program, which is being made available. Children should be, yes, the SATs have been cancelled, the last 2 rounds of SATs, but they will open up. The calendar will open up. So they must continue working towards that. Working on their essay writing skills, because many universities abroad place a lot of emphasis on the personal statement as well as the essays. They can also look at, doing community projects, do something to hone their entrepreneurship skills, the innovation aspect, virtual internships, like I said. Also get into self-directed learning. So this is something we should tell our grade 9, 10, 11 kids. Start building your portfolio. It doesn't matter if you can't do it in person per se. You have to resort to the virtual platform. And also look at virtual admission events, virtual campus tours that universities are doing. So let this situation not hamper your prospects of going abroad 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, is my advice for grade 9 to 11 students.
That's quite a comprehensive list of suggestions, and knowing that you've worked in that sphere for years together, I think those suggestions are really valuable. And I'd like to ask Dr. Deoras here specifically. I'm sure that as all of us are looking at various modalities for delivering our services, what are some of the changes that Astute has made in order to continue to provide this important service to students and parents?
Yeah, so as in the starting also I said, we are working onto the now the online mode. So we are talking to the parents, we are talking to the students, we are arranging the sessions for them, almost 3 to 4 webinars on different topics we are talking of. We are addressing the science students separately, commerce students separately. We have a lot of online content to tests to assess the skills and ability assessment for the students, because it is very critical, because as I said, unless we know what are the skills ability, unless I know, I cannot be able to provide the proper guidance to these students. And now what is really from Astute point of view is really happened is when we started, we were doing this many of the things earlier also, but suddenly because of the lockdown worldwide, it is not only a India phenomena, it is a worldwide. We are given so much of opportunity, even international students are talking to us. It is not in the students from the Australia, from United States, because we send the students across the globe, and we have our offices in United States. Our dear senior counselors, like I was talking of the Dean of Columbia University, Dr. Donald Martin. Now he's taking from United States. You can think of the Dean of a 4th rank university in the world talking to students and taking the sessions, online sessions, the value addition, what we can provide, which was normally we used to conduct the sessions, but it was more towards the seminar mode. But the webinar and all has really been online, has been promoted. It is the really a boost. Maybe we lack in some terms with the internet connectivity at the end milestone. So it is improving in India, but we are very inconsistent speeds of the internet at home particularly. We are not having the sustained speeds, and that is why the video sometimes may have the problems which are there. Even online teaching, when the schools are also teaching, in terms of that, they encounter some of the students may not be able to really have that great bandwidth at home. And particularly in rural areas, again, because I go a lot of rural areas, it is a connectivity, because they may have only the smartphone where the maybe a limited connectivity. They don't have the money to purchase a huge data contents or high speed contents. So there are going to be a challenge, talking about the schools also, to invest in a tool where we can use a low bandwidth. So if I invest at my end and to a tool which is a port tool, where maybe at the 2G level, if speeds are at 2G level, we will be able to deliver content. I'm getting a lot of calls from Jammu Kashmir. Okay, Jammu Kashmir, I'll give you an example. They were locked with the internet because so many years, and now as on today also, the Jammu student says I have only 2G. Now to have a video, running a video on 2G speed, it is not going to be, even my side I can be do. So I need to have a tool which will run to him at 2G and provide the value addition. And that is the situation in most of the villages are there. So Astute Academy at the institution level, we are the solution providers now. So we really are designing, because this every problem, as I said, is opportunity. So when I'm saying, okay, you should do this, and my infrastructure is not ready to do that, I need to really do a lot of research in infrastructure. And that is why I always say, don't use the free tools, because there are tools which will give the bandwidth, and that is the delivery mechanism is critical. It is today's done. So if I'm counseling and I'm talking to student, and if my video or voice is not clear, okay, it should give me the real-time experience as if I'm the parents are or student is sitting next to me. That level of expertise there are really worldwide. There is a lot of research happening, and there are great tools which are happening in terms of that. So Astute really wants to reach out to the students globally. It has really given the benefit. When I take webinars, 500 600 students at a time joins it, which I have never seen that numbers of students and parents joining at a single stage. Maybe one connection may have 2 or 3 parents, maybe 1,000 or somebody persons I'm talking about. And that is the awareness they understood. It is not a sitting at home. So institution level, individual level. So government, we need to really talk to the government. Now it is a time to improve the infrastructure of the internet also. How can we provide every school, like higher education institutes, they have the thing of the lease lines and very high. Now can we really government take initiative? Every small school in nook and corner will have a very high bandwidth, and we provide some free connectivity to the students at home. That is the way. It is a digital era. It is a digital era, and this COVID has really given the boost where we could have taken maybe 10 years or 5 years to implement. Now we can do the same thing in 1 year. There are going to be teething problems in a short run. There are going to be problems in short run, but it will definitely in a longer run, it is going to be like Mrs. Prabhu was saying, okay, the online classes, most of the even US universities I am talking to, the large number of, they say, don't worry about it. Even if the flights doesn't operate, we will start our session, fall session as it is, and we will start our online classes. And whenever you have flight, you fly down. Maybe they will take one full semester itself into the online mode. They are prepared. Even last semester, 70 to 80% they already did an online. Most of the universities. My son is in USA, and he's saying 80% is already done. They are already equipped to do that. So students will never face a problem anywhere. It is a teething problem. Some sort of anxiety is going to be there. But as Astute, we will find a solution. So we get connect with that. We reduce the anxiety. We provide the solution. This is a solution-based industry.
Fantastic, Dr. Deoras. I think you're focused on both innovation and continuity of services, which is key in an environment like this. Mrs. Kaur, I know we are down to our last few minutes here, but I would like to get our questions in because it's very important for our viewers here to know. Mrs. Kaur, you already mentioned about how students can become more self-aware of their areas of weakness from an academic perspective. With your insight and experience in recruitments and placements, what are two of the other skills that you would suggest that students try to develop when they're in lockdown?
Well, this is my favorite question. I'll tell you why. Because, see, we have to work on our fundamental skills. Now, when I say fundamental skills, one of the basic fundamental skills is communication skills. Now, it sounds repetitive. Every platform we have been speaking on about communication skills, but it is really a distinguishing factor, across all domains. This is one of that basic or the most essential tool for a student to excel in every field in their life. Now, in order to utilize, again, as I said, your time constructively during this lockdown period, students can work on their basic fundamentals communication skills. TCS, I'll give you an example. TCS is offering 15 days of certification course on enhancing your life skills and soft skills. Tata Steel is offering online courses just for rupees 1 rupee course on technical topics. Again, brushing up of your basic fundamentals. So I would say students should focus on one, the basic skill is the communication skill. Two, students should learn at least one, try to learn at least one computing language. It can be C, it can be C++, it can be Java, it can be Python. Now Python is a language, this is an upcoming in the industry. It can be Ruby on Rails. Understand, the basic concepts again taught in these programming languages. Now, why I'm asking them to learn these programming languages is understanding computers and understanding basics of the coding will help children to develop an appreciation, basically how things work. It will also teach them that how an engineer, a software engineer to be specific, uses, quote, mathematics, unquote. I repeat. So it will teach them how a software engineer uses mathematics in order to solve the real life problems, in a logical and a creative way. I would like to mention here that, just taking an admission in a college will not give you a career. It is skill that is going to actually give you a stable and a consistent career. So students need to acquire as many skills as they can. Degree is something which everybody has now. What is important is how better equipped you are as compared to others. Now, I'll give you again basic examples. There are plenty of tools, various tools on Microsoft Office. It's a galaxy of tools. You have Word, you have PowerPoint, you have Excel. Have we mastered those basic tools? Learning Excel is like, diving into an ocean of knowledge and learning. So again, acquire these basic simple skills. Learn a foreign language. We all know now the Japanese market is open for Indian industry. Why don't you learn a foreign language? Now, these are those skills which will be treated a feather in your resume, I would say, not a cap. It's a feather on your resume. It will provide you an edge over others. So that's something which I would like to inform all the students. And at last, technology is changing so fast. Industry is changing so fast. So students must acquire the skill of learning a new technology, unlearning the same technology probably after a year and a half, and then relearning another new technology which is coming. Students who have the zeal and the passion to learn on their own. I repeat, students who have the zeal and the passion to learn on their own. Follow the trend of learn, unlearn, and relearn are going to sustain, are going to do very good in this competitive, market. One last thing which I would like to point here is, now we all have heard of this famous Greek proverb which says that a sound mind is in a sound body. Now, when we say a sound body, we have a healthy body, and we all are safe and sound in our own places as of now. A sound body will be a body which is free from diseases. A sound mind is a mind who is good and has positive thinking attitude. We can maintain a healthy body by having good diet, good exercising, keep a healthy mind, a sound mind. We should always think positive and have an honest attitude towards life. A famous Yogacharya, Sri B.K. Iyengar sir has also said that health is a state of a complete harmony of body, mind, and soul. So one more skill that students, that youth can acquire in this difficult time is the skill of meditation to keep your mind, first of all, stable, and automatically you'll have a healthy body. So I'm done. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's really applause worthy that you would highlight those points. I think you hit the nail on the head. Communication, alignment of body, mind, and soul, as practicing a certain amount of self-awareness. I think these issues are really, front and center in all of our minds, not just as educators, but I think as parents as well. Mrs. Kumar, is it possible that, we've all, I think, listed out so many things here. There's so much work to be done. It's unfathomable almost. But do you think that, given the setup of Indian schools, which is so different from some other countries where all schools are centrally funded by the government, do you think that there is any benefit in synergy? Can schools work together? Is it possible? And do you think some creative solutions might emerge if, let's say, a few principals came together to implement new initiatives?
Let me be politically correct or politically honest. Yeah. Well, yeah,
Go
at
for
a
it.
very level of possibility, it's very possible. At the level of practicality, it hasn't been. It's because our egos and attitude come in between. I don't know if COVID will shake us out of our complacence, or we will go back to, because suddenly there's a lot of insecurities that even educators are harboring. Schools are worried about, and the institutions are worried about. But having said that, uh, there has always been collaboration. Unfortunately, Indian society is extremely stratified. In terms of the class and the caste and the gender and the region and the language, and then the school systems too just fall in place. But there has also been extremely inspiring initiatives by schools to transcend these stratification, and that you have had a lot of collaborations between the rural urban schools and schools from one state to another, schools within your neighborhood, in terms of the class, or for the privileged and extremely not so privileged, and maybe schools across the board. Because I think the most important point we all forget is that we may be coming from different streams of state and ICSE and CBSE and IB and IGCSE and homeschooling and whatnot, but we all are going to merge into the market of labor. Finally, nobody is going to, after 10 years, ask you, or 5 years, ask you, what were your scores, which board curriculum that you came from, or where did you graduate from. It's all going to be as, are you ready for adaptation? Are you ready for a new skill, as Mrs. Kaur had very beautifully put? Are you ready and willing to lead? Are you willing to follow while you're leading in another group? And are you really ready to learn and unlearn and probably, or let go? Are you willing to have this critical thinking demonstrated? And if put in a group, whether it is across cultures in a virtual platform, are you willing to show respectful behavior, often online, to different cultures? Would you be moving from a very ethnocentric behavior to ethno-relative behavior? And that is a universal demand, and it's nothing to do with where you come from. So I think we as students, as educators, we need to remember that we are all going to be in one pool of labor market. And then what finally is put to test is not where you came from and where are you willing to go. I think in that sense, it really is good for us to collaborate. It good for CBSE school to look at, coming together with an ICSE school or an IB school, or schools in the rural context, or rural in the so-called super urban context, or this, what you call this new postmodern context. But the point is about, do we allow this very, synergetic flow of communication and relationship and learning from each other? And I think that's the focus that we need to have. So I hope when I dream that there will be more collaborators, because our students have no choice but to collaborate in their future life. Thank you.
I think one of the things that I'm really loving about talking with all of you is you're able to keep it so real. And you're able to keep it real from the human perspective, as well as I think from the perspective of the markets and the situation and the things that are out of our control here. I want to continue with with all of us being jolted with this reality check with Ms. Prabhu here, and ask her please to see what she has to say to teachers who are struggling to cope with this dramatically altered environment. There is no doubt that they've stepped up and they're doing admirable things, but I think it would matter to them to see what a leader like you has to say.
There's no doubt that our teachers have risen to the occasion. I think this highlights the fact that all of us are quite high in terms of adaptability. Teachers are struggling, yes, because they have their own homes to take care of, the challenges that come there, but at the same time, they're also very invested in their students, and they don't want their learning to be, shortchanged in any aspect. So my respect and my gratitude to all the teachers out there who going the extra mile and who are, yes, they are struggling, but what I would say is, building on what the other panelists have already touched upon, I think it applies to teachers as well. Don't look at this as a challenge. Look at this as an opportunity to reskill yourself. The COVID-19 is not going to allow us to go back to how things used to be. There's going to be a new normal, like Dr. Deoras has also mentioned earlier. So we as educators have to constantly reskill ourselves. Look at it that way. But that can only happen when it is mind over matter right now. So take care of yourselves, because unless you take care of yourselves, you're not going to be able to deliver, and it's not going to be sustainable in the long run, which is what we all want from our team of educators. Have a routine so that you have control over how things are panning out, instead of letting the situation get the better of you. And I think it's also important to state here that online schooling for some time now into the future is not going to be a substitute, but it should be looked at as an alternative, right? So it is as good as the offline thing. So we have to continuously reskill ourselves, invest in self-directed learning. All the school administrators are going to invest in professional development for you, in self-development for you. But there is also an opportunity for you to engage in self-directed learning. Take up courses. Coursera has so many courses. Harvard, Yale have opened up courses for free for educators to, reskill themselves and learn a little bit more. focus on building an entrepreneurial mindset in yourselves, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do that with the students who you are responsible for. So at the end of the day, take care of yourselves. It's mind over matter, and look at this as an opportunity to reskill. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. While we still have a few minutes left, I'd like to also ask the panel to answer some questions that have come in from our viewers. We have a gentleman here, and maybe this is a question for those directly involved in the management of a school. So either Mrs. Kumar or Mrs. Prabhu, why is school management not capable of conducting competitive courses / education? He says that it's a burden for parents to pay to schools as well as to private classes. And he says the student is also limited in time, and already the existing curriculum consumes their energy, and lack of having, I think, this coaching provided by the school is adding to the anxiety. So what would your answer be to this gentleman, please?
I can go. We did some experiments with bringing in the competitive coaching into the fold of the school. And then we noticed that students think that competitive coaching is the be all and end all. They almost stop breathing. I could see them from a distance, and I called it, I made fun of it. Oh, that's a JEE syndrome. And this whole idea that the world is, about that. And they actually began to miss out on the opportunity of a leadership or a TED Talk event management opportunity, or going to Leh Ladakh to understand the sustainability because, oh, I'm in JEE. So we decided that as school, we need to prioritize our objectives. And we need to cater to our universal objectives of building skills, preparing them, and not necessarily with our choices indicate one is better than the other, or channelize it and say that this is your roadmap. And we said that we can facilitate, but we don't have to do everything. Unfortunately, from you and me being a student in our school to today, we being our educators, I'm sorry to use this language, we almost end up wiping the nose and ass of every child. That's not our role. We don't have to do everything. I think we need to say that we are into social context of education. We are bringing in an agent of change. We have multiple agendas, and we can't be narrowing ourselves to channelizing. And there are domain experts who are ready to do it. I understand this person's concern about the cost and the time, but I think this whole thing of where after the JEE exams you have this 5 photographs on the front of the newspaper. I'm just taking that as an example, okay? And that they have cracked and they have got the first top ranks. And of course, every parent aspires and believes and dreams of that, but not every student is ready to work for that. So I think it's about parents helping their own child make those judicious choices of where I want to put the money, where I want to, help my student, my child make those choices. Schools must focus on the primary agenda of social inclusion, social change, and skilling them, building the right attitude, providing those skills. And today morning, I just posted a joke that, which is an important and a serious joke, yeah, that learning to be bored and handling it without losing yourself is going to be added to the new 21st century skill. So I think schools need to focus on some of those priority agendas, and we can't be the solution for everything that needs to be provided for a student.
I can add maybe one or two. If
I hope I have kind of answered.
Yeah.
Yes.
So can I add something to this?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, it is a mindset of the parents today that we have to go to the coaching classes. if you see the real data, the biggest problem what we are facing across India is we have less trust in the education system, our schools, junior college. The parents has to put more trust into the education system. We have one of the best coaching industry in the world, Kota and even Mumbai, Pune, biggest. But if you see the results,
Absolutely.
2018, JEE Advance, out of 11.5 lakh students, only 18,000 students could qualify the JEE Advance across India from 11.5. Neither the coaching institutes are bad. I'm not saying anything is bad, or the teachers are bad, or not the students are bad. NEET scores, which they are going to medical, last year 134 marks are out of 720 was the cutoff for open category. So even if you get physics, chemistry 0 marks, the biology paper is 60 marks. The reason, because we are putting too much of emphasis on coaching. Coaching classes has to be supplementary. It is an add-on. It cannot replace the school system. You have to first have 100% faith in.
Thank you, Dr. Deoras. Thank you.
And then you supplementary, that is a supplementary education. Results are not showing. You go to the quota, somebody like you, Mrs. Kumar was mentioning, of the top 5, top 10, they advertise in a big. Not every student is. If somebody is the top 5 in India, he's such a brilliant student. He studies very hard. Okay, even coaching class, I don't know what value addition. Who is the number 1 in India? He is the self-made person. What happens to the average? I always ask the question, how many student coaching class have got, and how many students the MBBS or engineering admissions they got? 2019, only 38,000 students out of 12 lakhs qualified for JEE Advanced, despite so many coaching classes. The parents, if they are there in this, you need to first reinvest into junior college. You attend 100% attendance in a junior college, a skill, and then you go to coaching classes. I don't have any problem. I am not against that. And this is a primary reason. It is the psychology of the parents has to change. It is not the schools are bad. Every teacher is trying to do their best. But the students, their attendance after August and September is thin in many of the schools in India. That's a major problem for us. It's a big issue.
Thank you.
Can I also add something here?
Please.
Now, see, I very well, support this point that parents have to trust the education system. Now, I'm representing DY Patil Educational Complex in Akurdi. We have 11 institutes here in this campus. Now, in spite of schools and colleges, we have been providing basic education, giving them all the inputs that is required for a student to excel. When students come to colleges, when I say graduate colleges, the basic challenge that we see in students is communication. So we have set up language laboratories in our campus, which is not in any university curriculum. So what we do is we try to understand that, yes, they are all from various vernacular systems. They are from different boards. So we try to give them these inputs in their first year, second year, and third year of engineering. Parents and the other stakeholders have to understand that schools and colleges are teachers. Students should have the passion to learn. That's very, very important, and that's the need of the hour. The era is slowly changing towards the self-directed learning. If I want to learn something, only then I should not be pushed by somebody that this is something which is required. It's not going to again help you in building your career. You might get a job, but you cannot build your career with this kind of an attitude. So attitude building, a positive attitude of students and parents are actually going to help the entire ecosystem. So I gave you an example of, I'm trying to give an example that schools are doing their bit, colleges are doing their bit. Students and parents have to understand that you should have the zeal and passion to learn. That's something which I would like to point out here.
Thank you. May I request all the panelists from this point on, we have to keep the responses to either 60 or 90 seconds, because I do want to get the questions in from our viewers. I want to take this question by this 10th grader who says, will my board exams happen? Can anyone comfort her?
I'm not sure about if it's the CBSE. Well, there are discussions of that it will happen. It won't be cancelled. And if it doesn't happen, we must trust the system that the board will figure out how to normalize it. But I know that there was little bit of in between rumor about, the board exams are getting cancelled, but we did get an official communication that it will happen and that you will be given a 10-day notice for making it work. Of course, there are challenges because with the social distancing, I think the mandate is that you cannot have more than 15 students in a classroom. So, the centers are struggling with how are we going to create the space for all those students. So I think they're still figuring out the practicalities of it, but as of now, it will happen. But going back to, that's not in your control. Being prepared is what you can do. But also remember that those scores, don't take it to heart too seriously. It's just one small statement, and statement in the time of COVID will be interpreted in its context by all the higher education. So don't panic. In fact, you would be lauded as someone who has survived with sanity and with confidence. And finally, that is what will matter. So don't be so overly worried about what the scores are going to, because everybody's scores are going to be low in terms of the marks. Everybody's scores are going to be high in terms of how we are dealing with the situation.
I'd like Mrs. Prabhu to please take the next question. What do you see, a viewer asks, as the new form of assessment systems in K through 12 schools? Do you recommend the exam boards in India change their assessment patterns?
Okay. Assessments like, for instance, the CIE and the IB have cancelled their board exams for 10 and 12, right? They have gone into, they have focused on the child. And I'm sure even the CBSE and the other boards are also going to remain student-centric. I think, yes, assessments now will see a change across all boards. There will be emphasis on continuous learning. There will be formatives. There will be more emphasis on formative assessments. The weightage might go up compared to, the summative board examinations per se. We need to focus on children continuously learning. Even if they improve by 0.5, that's a great achievement, right? We need to focus on the competence building in the children more than content. Kids, it ought to consciously move from content heavy to becoming concept driven, student centric, and competency and skill building. So formatives, I think, will gain a little bit more importance than what they do in many boards right now.
Okay, probably one of our last couple of questions here for today. Anybody is welcome to jump in on this. And again, it's about education in India, particularly K through 12. Having so many different formats of education in India, do you see the curriculum being streamlined for all schools in the future? Isn't bringing all expertise together to cope with the changing times the way to go ahead?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of work which is going on in integrating the curriculum across India. So various government agencies, the HRD ministry has floated a lot of even discussion papers, white papers onto that. The challenge is this was in discussion for last, I think, 8 to 10 years. The things are happening. There has been a lot of political differences between the states which are pushing it back. Like Maharashtra state says, no, we want to teach the Shivaji Maharaj because they have the mentor in here, so we need to give the emphasis more on the Shivaji Maharaj. Rajasthan government says the different mentors. Madhya Pradesh government has. So we have also, actually, I was one of the panels of discussion into that. I said, first thing, you are making the NEET examination and JEE examination all across India. At least science and maths, can we have a unified curriculum across India? Because when you are saying that you have be single NEET exam across India, can we same way go to the engineering and then one by one take, okay, Shivaji Maharaj is very really important in Maharashtra. You may have a different history books. There is no problem in keeping some of the parts which is customized for particular states. But as far as the national curriculum, lot of discussion, it is not been, even they're discussed but not being implemented. So it has to be done in a phased manner, because the political differences are going to be there in India. So at least science and maths, physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, if they can start with across India and have the unified examination and unified counseling for admission, because I am in admissions also. So we see the uniform, it's so many 60, 70 examinations for engineering you cannot give. So we need to really work into that direction. Everybody should work. I think it is in the pipeline for many years. When it will give implemented, we don't know. Sure.
Can I say something here?
Please, of course.
Yeah. I think we have an important act of keeping the balance of keeping the diversity and not standardization. I think Dr. Deoras has very beautifully put it that that there could be some universal context, and then there can still be kept this local flavor, whether it's a language or literature or the social science and history and those contexts. I think we need to be very, very careful in keeping this balance, because that's also what India is about. That the diversity is humongous. It's not just about the cultural diversity, linguistic diversity, the whole ethnic diversity, the regionalistic diversity. So I think there's one shoe that fits all. And unfortunately, what will also happen is that we might just again bring it to what the majority wants, and majority in education can be so skewed and so not representative. So I think we need to bring in some uniformity, but at the same time keep that diversity, so that we still don't lose the plot of education. I mean, a tribal child needs another context in, let's say, in Aine district than what student from Pune city. And it's not even like a huge distance, geographical distance, but we live in multiple worlds. I think as educators we need to be very, very careful of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Kumar. And I'd just like to take this one last question before we wrap up at 1 today. And this last question, anybody's, can jump in. It's a question I'm guessing by a parent who has shown that screen time is, all screen time is not good, and so much screen time is not good. So it's a question on every parent's mind, including mine, I confess. Is 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 hours of screen time a good thing for a child?
My favorite topic.
Yes, I know. So anybody wants to give a very concise answer?
I think this is where educators need a paradigm shift. Let's not bring everything that happens offline on online. Let's just prioritize. I mean, it's irony, isn't it, that we had schools that banned mobile to now we're bringing the school into the mobile. Let's just prioritize, and let's really, you can't have 6 and 7 hours of screen time, at least regulated screen time. I don't want to deliver that, just 2-3 hours of some kind of a routine learning, and rest of it probably do some off screen time. And I think we are building for new pandemic. The amount of screen time, 2 years down the lane, we would be working with zombies, undoing things. The amount of what you say, the hand sanitizer, 2 years from now, there'll be research on the skin cancer. So I think we just need to also look ahead and see where I don't have to contribute to new pandemics.
Wonderful, wonderful. 30 seconds, every panelist. I'd like to start with Dr. Deoras. Concluding remarks, please.
So first of all, I would like to thank everybody. It was really a fantastic session, and all the panelists were really exciting. What I always tell the parents or educationists or everybody, keep a positive attitude. Problems will come, will go. Bad times will come, there will be. You have to be consistently working towards the positivity. You have to think of innovation. You have to think of research. You have to find the different ways, because every problem is an opportunity. If you take that, do your SWOT analysis, what is good for you, take help of the experts in the time of because everything on the internet is not true. Like we are talking about the screen time, it is not everything. Is many information is half cooked. Some of the lot of fake messages today are being spread everywhere. Various everybody thinks he's an expert in that field and he's trying to give the advice to the other persons. So there are a lot of confusion in the minds of the students, parents, what is right. Every college says I'm the best college in the world. Nobody says I'm an average college, or I don't have the best of the teachers. So it is very much essential. Keep positively, keep doing your own research. It is important to do your own research, understand, ask questions, go into the detail, and take your own decisions. It is an informed decisions.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Kaur, please.
Well, thank you, Bassett Education, for the opportunity and all the nice panelists that we had here today. I would like to just brush up once again the points that I shared with all the viewers today, that youth of today should focus on the basic fundamental skills. Invest in yourself in this time. That's very, very important. Probably nature has given you a time wherein you can identify your strengths and weaknesses, work on your weaknesses and brush up your strengths. And in this difficult situation, let's be positive. Let's, from industry perspective, from placement perspective, I would say pray that the industry comes back. We are going to have tough times, no doubt about it, but then jobs are going to be in a different state. Jobs are going to be of different kind. So students and the youth should basically accept that there is going to be a change in the regular pattern of working. Like, for example, work from home. TCS has recently, declared that most of the 95% of their employees will be working from home post-COVID also. So these are certain changes which youth should be adaptive. They should be flexible to accept for. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Kumar?
I would say practice respect. Respect for civic rules right now, because one violation, we all are sitting in lockdowns. Respect certain mandates that has been given by the government. In your you may feel little inconvenience in your individual choices, but there is the collective good and there is a collective context in which we need to practice. And I think respect all those who are right now on the road fighting for controlling the situation so that you can stay at home. Practice respect right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Prabhu, please.
So it's been a wonderful 2 hours almost of excellent collaboration, great learning. So thank you very much to all the panelists. I would say that this is going to be the new normal, right? So you need to focus on practice Pareto's optimality, focus on the essentials, the 10% which is essential. I think educators, administrators, I think they need to possibly, like Mrs. Kumar was saying, look at a different way of delivering the curriculum. We will have to encourage student autonomy. We would have to look at personalization of learning, non-linear versus linear ways of delivering the curriculum. Having said that, we also have to equip our educators, our teachers through reskilling opportunities, self-development, professional development. And teachers must continue to inspire hope in our students. Our kids are very anxious. Our kids are sort of lost, some of them. And the most contact they have is with their teachers. So I would sincerely request for teachers to inspire hope and confidence in our children. Tell them this is an opportunity to grow. And each of us, I think, very, very essential would be to practice empathy, to be patient with each other, and work together in coming out of this stronger and thriving in a new environment that the world will present. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all. I think I've moderated enough panels in my career, and there are very few panels that I engage in where I'm not really looking at the time. I'm so absorbed in listening to the people. This is sincere. I really feel like I'm taking back something as a person, as a professional, as an educator. I think that we should all be blessed to have all four of you providing such varied and diverse perspectives. I'm hopeful that all our key takeaways, whether it is being positive, whether it's preparing for the long run, whether it is optimizing the usage of virtual and online resources, whether it's Mrs. Kumar's 7 Cs, Mrs. Kaur's urging for students to engage in self-directed learning, personal growth, your push towards entrepreneurship, investment in technologies. Don't go for the free thing, go for the real deal, spend a little bit, focus on holistic things, go back to basics, let it be about patience, empathy, and respect. Um, I think all of this chaos is going to be behind us. We are the human race and we will emerge winners at the end of this all. And I thank you all for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was wonderful having this beautiful collaborative conversation with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
It was
And I
a true
hope you all
learning
do too.
experience for us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Kaur. Thank you.